One thunderstorm later. 1 hour later.
Launch teams are not working any issues right now that would prevent us from launching on time at Eastern. Currently, forecasters are still calling for a 70% chance of good weather at launch time. Managers and engineers are directing and monitoring Endeavour's countdown on Kennedy's Launch Pad 39A from about 3 miles away in firing room number 4 in the Launch Control Center. The team you can see here has been on station and ready to begin the tanking process. Endeavour's launch tomorrow will be the second shuttle flight this year, and as it turns out, it'll be the second to last space shuttle flight ever. And the last mission for Endeavour. Space Shuttle program managers met about half an hour ago, and the mission management team gave unanimous approval to go ahead with the fueling operations for Endeavour's external tank. That's scheduled to begin at 11:36 p.m. At that time, teams will begin the process of loading about 535,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen into the tank. This procedure is known as tanking, and it takes about 3 hours to fill the 154-foot tall external tank with those 2 super cold propellants. And those are used to fuel the shuttle's 3-minute engines during the 8.5-minute climb into orbit. At the tanking meeting about half an hour ago, no major issues were discussed. A couple of things were brought up, including 3 Tyvek covers on the outside of the very top part of the shuttle, the forward reaction control system. 2 had blown off in the breezy conditions earlier, and you see them kind of flapping around in the breeze. 1 still holding on. It's not considered, obviously, a debris issue because they're designed to come off. Those covers, Tyvek, the brand name you'll sometimes see on construction sites. They're intended to protect the reaction control systems. Little tubes that are there that could act like little cups if rain took place. But of course, no rain is in the forecast, so it's not an issue, and they're not a debris issue, so turns out it's just not a problem. We'll just show these flopping Tyvek covers from time to time. The only issue that weather-wise, with the 70% chance of good weather for tomorrow morning, is still the possibility of low clouds around launch time and breezy conditions with the possibility of a crosswind at the shuttle landing facility. In the unlikely event that the shuttle would need to make an emergency landing back here at the Kennedy Space Center, called a return to landing site maneuver, take place 20 minutes after launch, again in that unlikely scenario. The transoceanic abort landing weather. There are 3 TAL sites, as they're called. Zaragoza, Spain is the primary one for this one, and weather's looking really good for that, so that's all that's needed. We're about 2.5 minutes away from resuming the countdown. This is the second launch attempt for Endeavour's STS-134 mission. On April 29th, the launch was scrubbed about 3.5 hours before liftoff because of an issue associated with the shuttle's hydraulic system. One of 2 redundant heaters on the fuel line for Endeavour's auxiliary power unit number 1 wasn't working, and that prompted the scrub. The shuttle has 3 redundant auxiliary power units, also called APUs, that are used to control various hydraulic power systems, such as the shuttle's aerosurfaces, like the wing elevons, the rudder, tail fin, and speed brake, and systems such as the engine nozzles and landing gear brakes. The heaters keep the fuel for the APU from freezing while it's in orbit. After the scrub, technicians began an engineering investigation to determine what caused the heaters to fail. Technicians determined that the most likely failure was inside a power distribution switch box in Endeavour's aft compartment and the associated electrical wiring connecting that switch box to the heater. The faulty power box was replaced, and technicians installed and tested new wiring that bypasses that suspect wiring. And after retesting, they confirmed the heater system is working properly, and as are all the other systems powered by that switch box. We'll see heater data during tanking overnight. As the aft compartment cools down, the heater does activate. And this time we'll also switch over to the second heater to be sure that both heaters on APU number 1 at fuel line are working. All this gives managers confidence that we will not see the heater issue again during this launch count, but of course, launch controllers will be watching those systems closely overnight. And we're about 40 seconds away from resuming the countdown. There are 7 built-in holds for 73 hours and 54 minutes of countdown time that started at the T-minus 43 hour point, and that began at 7 a.m. Eastern on Friday. When we come out of the hold, that's also the scheduled time to begin the tanking process, which begins with chill down or cooling of the pipes that will carry the 535,000 gallons of propellants into Endeavour's external fuel tank. We're ready to come out of the hold in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're at T-minus 6 hours and counting. Let's take a second now to look at the mission. Now a 16-day flight to the International Space Station. Endeavour 6 veteran astronauts will deliver and install a particle physics detector and a cargo carrier with spare parts on the outside of the space station. The crew will also make 4 spacewalks, the last ever to be carried out by Space Shuttle astronauts. Let's take a second now to look at the mission.
The crew of Space Shuttle Endeavour will deliver the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer 2, or AMS, and the Express Logistics Carrier 3, or ELC-3, to the International Space Station. The AMS experiment is a state-of-the-art particle physics detector that will help advance knowledge of the universe and its origin. AMS will be attached to the station's S3 truss segment. The ELC-3, containing 2 S-band antennas, a high-pressure gas tank, spare parts for the 2-armed robot Dexter, will be attached to the station's P3 truss segment for future use. During Endeavour's planned 2-week flight, crew members also will make 4 spacewalks to upgrade and equip parts of the space station's exterior. The STS-134 mission is the final scheduled flight for Endeavour.
And we're now back live looking at pictures of Launch Pad 39A and Space Shuttle Endeavour. We have officially begun the tanking process. It started on time at 11:36 p.m. Eastern. Chill down of the pipes associated with filling the external tank. Liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen began on time at 11:36 p.m. Eastern. Both the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks are held on propellant storage facilities on the launch pad. Of course, in the dark of night here, you will not be able to see those overnight, but believe me, they're there. These vessels actually are huge vacuum bottles. The liquid oxygen tank is actually 900,000 gallons. That's used as the oxidizer for the shuttle's main engines. Liquid oxygen is stored at minus 297 degrees Fahrenheit. There are 2 pumps that supply about 1,200 gallons of oxidizer per minute. You can see those pumps right now, starting their warm-up process. They actually transfer the liquid oxygen from the storage tank on the pad into the shuttle's external tank. On the liquid hydrogen side, that storage tank on the launch pad is about 850,000 gallons. It stores the minus 423 degrees Fahrenheit liquid hydrogen. Pumps are not required for that propellant. As the hydrogen is loaded, the first small amount of liquid hydrogen vaporizes, and this action creates a gas pressure at the top of the tank that actually moves the extremely light fuel through the transfer lines. So no pumps are required for the liquid hydrogen side of things.
2 hours later.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. And we're now close to entering the final 5.5 hours of the countdown for the launch of the last flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour on mission STS-134. The countdown is being controlled from Firing Room 4 at the Launch Control Center here at Complex 39 at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And we are on schedule for a liftoff targeted for 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time. This is the 134th launch of the Space Shuttle program, the 25th launch of Space Shuttle Endeavour, and the 36th flight to the International Space Station. Endeavour will deliver the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer called AMS-2, a particle physics detector designed to search for various types of unusual matter by measuring cosmic rays. Its experiments are designed to help researchers study and look for clues to the formation of the universe. Endeavour will also bring up to the station the Express Logistics Carrier 3, an external platform for the space station that holds large equipment that will carry spare parts and equipment to sustain the space station's operation in space once the last space shuttle flight has occurred this summer. There are 4 planned EVAs, or spacewalks, outside the International Space Station during the STS-134 mission to do maintenance and install new components. These will be the last scheduled spacewalks by the Space Shuttle crew for the remainder of the program. Meanwhile, the final inspection team has been measuring the temperatures on the surface of the vehicle, looking for any ice buildup, and performing a final check for any FOD or foreign object debris that could strike the orbiter upon ignition. The 7-member crew will have walked up and down the entire 380-foot tower of the fixed service structure at the conclusion of their inspections. Weather continues to be favorable, with just a 30% chance of not meeting our launch weather criteria this morning. Slight chance for a low cloud ceiling and a crosswind, but at least at this point in time, neither is being observed. We have 1 hour, 28 minutes, 24 seconds remaining in this planned built-in hold at T-minus 3 hours and holding. This is
Much later.
OTC CDR horizontal sync config is complete, and the contingency abort yacht steer is enabled.
Copy that. And CMQC, that's 1042 and 1044 complete.
Copy.
And PLT OTC, perform MPS helium reconfig.
PLT, that's in work.
Thank you, sir. And safety console NTD, I can give you 1062. And can you verify you're part of that? Stand by. That's affirmative. And EPD and FCP OTC.
EPD, FCP.
At 1069, adjust fuel cell loads between 250 and 290 amps.
Copy. EPD copies. OTC, PLT, MPS helium reconfig is complete.
Copy. CMQC, that's 1049 through 1051.
Copy. MS4.
NTD Houston flight on 212.
Still flight.
I can give you step 1048. The BFS pre-flight uplink load is complete.
Copy, thank you. CVFS, you copy?
CVFS copies.
SRO, NTD, the KSC area is clear for launch.
SRO copies.
And attention on air to ground 1, discontinue all non-mandatory LDB traffic for remainder of count, 1077.
This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 10 minutes, 30 seconds and counting.
OTC, CFCP.
Payload Director Bill Dowdell is preparing to conduct a final poll of the principal payload management team members during the upcoming final hold. Coming up will be a verification of the solid rocket booster hydraulic power unit levels.
CCME, OTC.
And right now we are
Go ahead. You verified 1074, 1070.
just 1 minute away from entering the last planned built-in hold in the countdown. The flow rate of conditioned air fed into the orbiter's payload bay has been reduced, verified to be about 180 pounds per minute.
Clock will hold at T-minus 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Verification the countdown clock will hold
Launch Director 212.
as planned.
Co-launch Director.
Yeah, could you give me a status of your constraints list, please?
Yes, sir. We still have 2 open items. The right ohms item that we were tracking earlier and the ET debris item, which are paper at this point, and we'll be closing those and clearing them off the list shortly.
Yeah, they've been disposed, and so it's simply a paperwork issue at this stage, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, very good.
Superintendent of Range Operations verifies the range is green. Going now into the hold in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. T-minus 9 minutes and holding.
Countdown clock is at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. Duration of hold will be 40 minutes and 28 seconds.
As we heard, this will be a 40-minute, 28-second hold. This is a variable hold to match up with the targeted launch time and the position of the International Space Station. And any unresolved issues can be addressed at this time. And as we heard, the 2 items that were open are just a matter of closing paper right now.
NTD CVFS?
Also, we'll be verifying that the ground launch sequencer is ready to take control of the countdown in the last 9 minutes. The ground launch sequencer will monitor over 1,000 different parameters during the last 9 minutes to make sure that they don't fall out of any predetermined limits or red lines.
Sensor removal. Copy. MTS.
All personnel in the firing room have now switched over to the same communications channel, and everyone in firing room 4 will be on that channel from now through launch.
MTS.
Very shortly, our launch director, Mike Leinbach, will be verifying with our shuttle weather officer, Kathy Winters, that the weather conditions and the forecast meet the launch commit criteria. And right now we have confirmation from the shuttle training aircraft and from our shuttle weather officer that the cloudiness in the area is scattering out, and we're approaching the upper edge of that cloudiness in any event. Right now we're going to go to the Johnson Space Center to Mission Control in Houston
GLIS
and receive an update from Kyle Herring on the status and readiness of Mission Control to support the flight of Endeavour after liftoff occurs this morning.
cameras are green, and if you're ready for the fill-ins, I'll give them to you now.
I'm ready to copy.
Okay, long range north, 8.
Well, thanks, George, and good morning from NASA's Johnson Space Center. This is Mission Control Houston at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. The ascent team has been on console since 3 o'clock this morning, and today is led by Flight Director Richard Jones, who's overseeing his 5th launch. Handling communications with the crew aboard Endeavour is astronaut Barry Wilmore, with Lee Archambault serving as the interface with astronaut Rick Sturckow, who is flying weather reconnaissance around the Kennedy Space Center in a modified Gulfstream aircraft known as the Shuttle Training Aircraft, or STA. The flight control team is monitoring all systems aboard the space shuttle along with the launch team at KSC, and has just notified the flight director it is ready to support the 25th and final launch of Endeavour this morning. 19 years ago to the day that Endeavour had landed safely in California to end its maiden voyage in 1992. The ascent team has spent the majority of its shift monitoring orbiter systems and evaluating the weather conditions at the launch site in the event an emergency return to the shuttle landing facility is required. The team also evaluates weather at contingency runways in Spain and France. Presently, conditions are favorable to support an overseas landing if one becomes necessary during the launch phase. Because Endeavour is launching into a 51.6 degree inclination, essentially on a northeasterly trajectory from the Kennedy Space Center, the primary transoceanic abort landing site is Zaragoza in Spain, with Morón, Spain, and Istres in France available as alternate TAL sites as well. Once Endeavour lifts off and clears the fixed service structure, its onboard guidance software will command a maneuver of the orbiter to a heads-down position, putting it on the proper course and trajectory to achieve its desired orbit. At main engine cutoff, Endeavour will be in a 136 by 36 statute mile orbit, and about 30 minutes later that orbit will be refined using the twin orbital maneuvering system engines, placing the orbiter in a 202 by 141 statute mile altitude for on-orbit operations. Today's launch of Endeavour actually serves as the first in a series of rendezvous burns designed to allow the orbiter to catch up with the International Space Station. Docking is scheduled for 6:15 Eastern Time Wednesday morning. At launch time, the space station, at an altitude of 220 statute miles, will be located southeast of Halifax, Nova Scotia. 73 paces from the shuttle flight control room resides a team overseeing operations aboard the International Space Station. That team currently is being overseen by Flight Director Royce Renfrew. After Endeavour's launch and about 30 seconds into the flight, the 3 main engines will be throttled back to lessen the effects of the dense lower atmosphere on the orbiter. Less than a minute later, the shuttle will have accelerated to a speed of 3,620 miles per hour at the point where the twin solid rocket boosters burn out and separate at 2 minutes 3 seconds. Once in orbit, Endeavour's 3 main engines will be shut down at the 8.5-minute point, followed just a few seconds later by the separation of the large external fuel tank. All continues to go smoothly here in Mission Control, with flight controllers standing by to take over control of Endeavour and the STS-134 mission at solid rocket booster ignition. George will send it back to you now in the firing room for the remainder of Endeavour's launch count at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. This is Mission Control Houston.
11:12 is complete. 11:13 now purple.
This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 9 minutes and holding. We have 34 minutes remaining in this planned built-in hold. We're not working any issues in the countdown. Weather is still green at this time.
LHY and CLOX on 11:12. TBC NTD? NTD CLHY, I'm aware. Okay, very good, thanks.
Mission STS-134 is the 25th and final flight for Endeavour and the second to last flight for the Space Shuttle program. Here now is a look back at this vehicle's impressive flight accomplishments.
Okay, the pass and BFS.
Space Shuttle Endeavour, born out of the loss of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986, represented a commitment to continuing America's human spaceflight program. The nation's decision to build Endeavour set the stage for dramatic missions to come. The last of 5 orbiters to be built for spaceflight, Endeavour was named in a national competition by elementary and secondary school students after the 18th century sailing vessel commanded by Captain James Cook. Construction of Endeavour began with its contract award on July 31, 1987 to replace Challenger, which was lost 73 seconds after launch on January 28, 1986. Endeavour was outfitted with many safety improvements, including a drag chute to be deployed post-landing and nose-wheel steering to improve wear on the tires during rollout on the runway. Additionally, Endeavour's plumbing was designed for a state-of-the-art addition allowing for longer stays in space. Endeavour was delivered to NASA's Kennedy Space Center from its Palmdale, California construction site in May 1991. When Endeavour completes its final mission, it will have traveled more than 115 million miles during 25 trips to space. It will have carried 139 different people into orbit. Although Endeavour was the final space shuttle to be built, its career has been one of firsts, and its legacy will be one of opening humanity's greatest eye on the universe and expanding the space frontier for nations around the world.
For an out-of-this-world space laboratory.
Houston, Endeavour, roll program.
Roger, roll, Endeavour.
Right now we have about 31 minutes remaining in this planned built-in hold at T-minus 9 minutes. And the team is not working any issues, weather still green. Endeavour's 16-day mission will deliver the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer 2, or AMS, to the International Space Station. Along with AMS, Endeavour will also fly spare parts on the Express Logistics Carrier 3, or ELC-3, and the mission will feature 4 spacewalks to perform maintenance work and install new components. These are the last scheduled spacewalks by shuttle crew members for the Space Shuttle program. But now let's take a closer look at the mission. The crew of Space Shuttle Endeavour's STS-134 mission will deliver the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer 2, or AMS, and the Express Logistics Carrier 3, or ELC-3, to the International Space Station. The AMS experiment is a state-of-the-art particle physics detector that will help advance knowledge of the universe and its origin. AMS will be attached to the station's S3 truss segment. The ELC-3, containing 2 S-band antennas, a high-pressure gas tank, spare parts for the 2-armed robot Dexter, will be attached to the station's P3 truss segment for future use. During Endeavour's planned 2-week flight, crew members also will make 4 spacewalks to upgrade and equip parts of the space station's exterior. The STS-134 mission is the final scheduled flight for Endeavour. Right now, most of the launch team is just looking at their systems, catching up on any things which aren't completely closed, but there's no significant issue in work. So that we do expect to come out of the T-minus 9-minute hold on time in about 29 minutes. If weather permits, and right now weather is continuing to trend in our favor. At T-minus 9 minutes and holding, this is Shuttle Launch Control. This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 9 minutes in holding. We have 25 minutes remaining in this planned 40-minute built-in hold. Once again, the Endeavour will dock with the space station on Wednesday at about 6:15 in the morning Eastern Time, and will remain docked to the station until Monday, May 30th at about 11:53 in the evening. Once we come out of this hole, there are several major milestones that remain. The ground launch sequencer, as we said, will be taking over control of the countdown for the final 9 minutes. At 7 minutes 30 seconds, the orbiter access arm retraction will be performed. And at T-minus 5 minutes, pilot Greg Johnson will start up the orbiter's auxiliary power units. A gimbal check of the orbiter's aerosurfaces or flight controls will occur at T-minus 3 minutes 55 seconds. And then a switch over to internal power on the spaceship occurs at T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds. We'll see the 3 main engines go through their steering checks, a gimbal check at T-minus 3 minutes 25 seconds. And then the gaseous oxygen fin hood, called the beanie cap, will be retracted at about 2 minutes 55 seconds before launch. And that will be followed by pressurizing the liquid hydrogen tank at 1 minute 57 seconds before launch. That takes us up to where the ground launch sequencer will hand off to Endeavour's onboard computers at T-minus 31 seconds. And the final command will be coming at T-minus 6.6 seconds to ignite Endeavour's 3 main engines. And the ground launch sequencer gets a chance to vote on the readiness for main engine start at T-minus 10 seconds. It must agree with the onboard computers that we're ready to ignite the main engines. And then at that point, the onboard computers on Endeavour can actually cut off the countdown at any point up until solid rocket booster ignition. Once the main engines on Endeavour ignite, they will begin to consume propellant at the rate of 1,000 gallons per second. The solid rocket boosters, however, they will be providing 80% of the thrust required for the space shuttle during the first 2 minutes before they separate. Right now, Greg Sturko in the weather reconnaissance aircraft, shuttle training aircraft, is taking another reconnaissance flight around the immediate vicinity of Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral, watching this area of cloudiness that is gradually breaking up, but want to be sure that that will not be a factor in our launch today. When the shuttle lifts off, we'll have a very up-close view of the shuttle coming from two long-range optical tracking sites. One is located on the Cape Canaveral National Seashore north of the launch pads, and there's another at Patrick Air Force Base just south of Cocoa Beach. They have 200-inch and 400-inch lenses for film and high-definition video.
Houston Flight NTD on 212.
NTD Houston Flight, go ahead.
All right, any changes to either our launch window or our lock stream back hold times?
No changes.
All right, very good. And for all personnel, just a reminder, we are at the in-plane, and our T0 time is 12:56:28, and that gives us a preferred lock stream back of 3 minutes 49 seconds. KSNMA, station calling on 118. You're on 212. KSC SMA.
And also providing a highly detailed image of the shuttle is a 50-foot C-band radar, which is located just north of Complex 39 on the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. That will be working together with some X-band radars on the solid rocket booster retrieval ships. So a detailed computer graphic will be generated that can identify anything that comes off the shuttle during flight. This is shuttle launch control, 14 minutes 30 seconds remaining in this planned built-in hold at T-minus 9 minutes. And joining us here at the console in firing room 4 is Pete Nicolaico. He's the assistant launch director today, and we thought we would ask him a little bit about how the countdown has been going and maybe some of the things that we've worked. Pete, it appears to have been fairly quiet, but the tile issue on the hatch, I don't think that's ever something we've worked before, is it?
Good morning, George. As a matter of fact, we did work a fairly similar issue for the STS-133 launch. So we developed some recent experience in working a minor chip in a slurry repair, such as what we executed today. And fortunately, the closeout crew, as is usual, was right on the scene and took care of it in very short order. And we've got a clean bill of health with our side hatch tile.
Well, other than that, I think we did work too many issues since we picked up the countdown, have we, today?
It has been relatively smooth. We have had a couple of just minor nits, but the launch team dispositioned them with no issues. And at this point, the launch team, the vehicle, and the crew is all ready to go. We were watching some weather. There was some band of clouds approaching from the west, but we've had the weather aircraft approach and take various looks and sees, and the clouds appear to pose no issue. So we're looking good as far as that's concerned. And so we do have a forecast go and an observed go weather forecast for launch at this time.
How have our heaters performed?
The APU heaters, I'm pleased to say, perform nominally. There are no issues at all with them, and they're right on the mark. And so we declared that certainly a victory.
Well, Pete, I guess it looks like we're there. We've had some challenges over the last couple of weeks, but we certainly did show that we could manage that. How would you characterize how the team has had to meet with this challenge over the last couple of weeks?
Well, this is just an amazing combined team that we have here, and as usual, they faced the challenge, tackled it with all the vim and vigor that we're known for, and resolved it, and we're back in ready to launch mode. And I'm proud to say that we expect to launch here shortly.
Well, Pete, thanks very much, and I guess we're a little more than 20 minutes or so away from a launch. So congratulations on helping to bring us to this point in the countdown, and we're looking forward to liftoff as you are.
Absolutely. Thanks, George.
11 minutes, 25 seconds remaining in this hold at T-minus 9 minutes. This is Shuttle Launch Control. This is Shuttle Launch Control. 10 minutes now remaining in this planned built-in hold at T-minus 9 minutes. In just about 3 minutes, NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding will be giving instructions to the launch team for the final 9 minutes of the countdown. And our launch director, Mike Leinbach, will also be polling his management team. And we'll also hear the orbiter test conductor, Mark Taffet from United Space Alliance, closing the final loops with the crew and giving them a send-off on a good flight. The blinds here in the firing room, on firing room 4 in the back of the room now, are being raised since we are anticipating an on-time launch here in the next 15 minutes or so.
And attention all personnel, we have about 8.5 minutes left of hold time here at T-minus 9 minutes, and we're still tracking no issues at this point. CISL, JRPS, and Houston Flight perform the L-15 recorder activation. ISL, and JRPS, and Houston Flight.
We will put that in work.
MS1 and MS4 OTC, activate your V10 recorders, please.
V10 recorder activation in work.
(8:56:28) our targeted launch time. Just Spaulding about to pull his team.
And attention all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC?
OTC is go.
TBC?
Thank you, boosters, go.
TTC?
TTC is go.
LPS?
LPS is go.
Houston Flight?
Houston Flight is go.
MILA?
Mila go.
STM?
STM is go.
Safety Console?
Safety consoles go.
SPE?
SPE is go.
LRD? LRD is go. SRO?
SRO is go.
CDR?
Yes. CDR and the crew of Endeavour, go.
Copy all. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
Okay, and this is SRO go. You have range clear to launch. And SRO, you're on 212. And NTD, your polls go. Is that affirmative?
That is affirmative. We are all go.
Okay, copy that. KC Chief Processing Engineer, verify no constraints to launch.
No constraints.
Thank you, Steve. KC Safety Mission Assurance.
KC Safety and Mission Assurance is go.
Thank you, Dave. Payload Launch Manager.
Like Space Station Processing Teams go.
Thank you, Bill. Range Weather.
Weather has no constraints for launch.
Thank you, Kathy. And Ops Manager.
Mike, things look real good today. Thanks to your team for getting us back here. You're a good launch Endeavour.
Good. Thank you, sir. Endeavour Launch Director, air to ground 1. Okay, Mark, looks like a great day to launch Endeavour for the final time. So on behalf of the thousands of proud Americans who have been part of her journey, good luck, Godspeed, and we'll see you back here June 1st.
Thank you, sir. On this final flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour, we want to thank all the tens of thousands of dedicated employees that have put their hands on this incredible ship and dedicated their lives to the Space Shuttle program. As Americans, we endeavor to build a better life than the generation before, and we endeavor to be a united nation. In these efforts, we are often tested. This mission represents the power of teamwork, commitment, and exploration. It is in the DNA of our great country to reach for the stars and explore. We must not stop. To all of the millions watching today, including our spouses, children, family, and friends, we thank you for your support.
Outstanding words, Mark. Thank you, sir. And to do that, you are clear to launch Endeavour.
Copy that. Thank you.
We're about 2 minutes and 15 seconds away from picking up the countdown.
NTD ISO recorder activation complete. Copy ISO.
Our NASA Administrator, Charlie Bolden, has joined us here in the firing room, as has Kennedy Space Center Director Bob Cabana. "90 seconds from picking up the countdown. Picking up the count in 1 minute.
1 minute.
"30 seconds from picking up the count. Picking up the count in 10 seconds.
The countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
GLS auto sequence has been initiated.
Ground launch sequencer now controlling. Over 1,000 different parameters will be monitored and verified in the next 9 minutes. The handoff to Endeavour's onboard computers will occur at T-minus 31 seconds, and at that point that handoff will not occur if there is anything that is not go for launch.
ELT, OTC, connect essential buses to your fuel cells per your checklist.
PLT, that's in work.
The orbiter access arm will be retracted in about 20 seconds.
go for orbiter access arm recheck.
Endeavour OTC, it's your final voyage. This is both a sad and proud moment for your launch team and for America, but your legacy will live on. Mission success with AMS, a truly international effort. Godspeed, and see you back in a couple of weeks.
Endeavour copies. Thanks for the words. Appreciate it.
Orbiter test conductor Mark Taffet from United Space Alliance. Wishing the crew well.
OTC, start your display recorders, please.
Team has 6 minutes, 28 seconds.
Recorders are running. PLT OTC, perform APU pre-start.
PLT, that's in work.
T-minus 6 minutes and counting.
OTC, PLT, APU pre-start is complete with 3 gray talkbacks.
Copy all.
In about 30 seconds, we'll be terminating the liquid oxygen replenishment. T-minus 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
GLS's go for orbiter APU start.
PLT OTC, perform APU start.
PLT, that's in work.
PDR OTC, reconfigure heaters.
Heater reconfigure work. PLT APU start is complete.
Copy that.
OTC CDR, heater reconfig complete.
Copy all.
We'll be starting the orbiter aerosurface profile test in just a moment.
GLS's go for purge sequence 4.
T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Checking main engine steering. Verifying that the main engines now are in the start position. Pressurizing the liquid oxygen tank.
For ET LO2 pressurization.
I'll now be retracting the gaseous oxygen vent arm.
PLT OTC, clear caution and warning memory. Verify no unexpected errors.
PLT, that's in work. clear, no unexpected errors.
Copy that. Endeavour OTC, close and lock your visors. Initiate O2 flow.
Endeavour and work.
T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
GLS is go for EP LH2 pressurization.
One minute, 30 seconds.
Now arming the sound suppression water system.
Minute.
Closing the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen fill and drain valves. Standing by for the handoff to Endeavour's onboard computers. T-minus 31 seconds and the handoff has occurred.
25. 20.
Firing chain is armed. House suppression water system is armed. Go for main engine start. 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 0, and liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour, expanding our knowledge while expanding our lives in space.
Houston, Endeavour, roll program.
Roger, roll, Endeavour.
Houston is now controlling. Endeavour beginning to roll over onto its back. The roll program underway as Endeavour begins the heads down position on course for a 51.6 degree, 136 by 36 statute mile orbit. Three engines now throttling down as Endeavour passes through the area of maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle in the lower atmosphere. Approaching 1 minute into the flight.
Endeavour, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Endeavour's three main engines now back at full throttle, all three engines in good shape. Endeavour's already traveling 1,300 miles per hour at an altitude of 11 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, now 12 miles. At liftoff, Endeavour fully fueled, weighed 4.5 million pounds. It's already lost half that weight in propellant now, burned that weight. Next event is burnout and separation of the twin solid rocket boosters. That upcoming here shortly at the 2 minute 3 second point. Those boosters are burning 11,000 pounds of fuel per second. And standing by for separation of the solid rocket boosters. The onboard guidance system has done its job of settling out any dispersions introduced at booster separation. The orbiter is now traveling 3,200 miles per hour, downrange 50 miles, altitude 37 miles. All systems in good shape. Three good hydraulic systems, auxiliary power units, and fuel cells. The fuel cells providing electrical power to all of the systems.
two-engine TAL.
Endeavour can reach a TAL site in the event of a single engine failure. However, all three are in good shape. Space Shuttle Endeavour sailing into fair winds on its final historic voyage. This view looking down the external fuel tank, the orbiter there on the top, as Endeavour continues to power its way into orbit, traveling 4,000 miles per hour, downrange 90 miles, altitude 50 miles. 3 minutes, 15 seconds into the flight. All three main engines still looking in good shape. Hydraulic systems and electrical systems on board the orbiter.
Endeavour, negative return.
Roger, negative return.
Endeavour can no longer return to the Kennedy Space Center in the event of an engine failure now, but all three are still in good shape, as are all of the other systems aboard the orbiter. Quiet here in Mission Control as a team of flight controllers watches over all of the systems. 4 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, Endeavour's traveling 5,500 miles per hour. Altitude now 63 miles, traveling downrange 186 miles, or about 335,000 feet in altitude. Environmental and Control Systems Officer here reporting a good flash evaporator system providing cooling to all of the avionics equipment aboard the vehicle. Traveling into space on the forward flight deck is Commander Mark Kelly and pilot Greg Johnson. Between and behind them is flight engineer Roberto Vittori. And rounding out the flight deck crew is Mike Fink.
Endeavour, press to ATO.
Roger, press to ATO.
Endeavour can reach orbit on 2 engines should one fail at this point. However, all three are still performing as planned. Down on the middeck of Endeavour, Drew Feustel and Greg Chamitoff. Feustel headed to the International Space Station for the first time. Vittori and Fink making their first voyage on the Space Shuttle after flying to the International Space Station aboard Soyuz spacecraft previously.
Endeavour, single engine, Ops 3.
Roger, single engine Ops 3.
That call indicates that Endeavour could reach a transatlantic abort site on 1 engine if it lost 2 of the 3, although all 3 are still in good shape. 5 minutes, 50 seconds into the flight.
Endeavour, press to MECO and single engine Zaragoza, 104.
Roger, press to MECO, single engine Zaragoza 104.
Several calls there. Endeavour can reach a safe orbit on 2 engines now. The guidance system is controlling the engines to roll Endeavour to a heads-up position to optimize the air-to-ground communications through the satellite network. Flight controllers reporting to Flight Director Richard Jones they're in good shape.
Your shutdown plan is nominal.
Copy. Shutdown plan is nominal.
For Mark, your go the plus X, go the pitch.
Roger, go for the plus X, go for the pitch.
Endeavour, single engine press, 104.
Roger, single engine press, 104.
Endeavour can reach orbit on 1 engine should 2 fail. However, all 3 are still in good shape. The 3 main engines are flowing fuel through their power systems at a rate equivalent to draining an average backyard swimming pool in 25 seconds. 7 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Altitude 64 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 630 miles. Endeavour is traveling 13,500 miles per hour. We're now seeing throttling on the 3 main engines to maintain the 3G or 3 times gravity load on the vehicle and the crew. Engines at 82% of rated thrust, 8 minutes into the flight. The next activity is main engine cutoff. That's expected to be commanded at 21 seconds. And main engine cutoff has been confirmed. Flight Dynamics reporting a nominal main engine cutoff. And separation from the external tank. Endeavour's Commander Mark Kelly now firing the thruster jets to position the orbiter for photography of the external tank.
We did see a nominal MECO. OMS 1 is not.
Copy. Nominal MECO. OMS 1 not required.
The pitch-up maneuver will allow for some photography of the external tank as it falls away from the orbiter. To capture images for the imagery analysis team to evaluate any loss of foam from the tank during the launch phase of the vehicle. The residual items floating away there are typically particles of ice that accumulated on the back end of the orbiter during the tanking process while it was sitting on the launch pad. By all indications, all of the flight control team here in Mission Control reporting normal ascent calls all the way uphill. From this early standpoint, there were no issues at all with any of the systems aboard Endeavour on the way into space. Endeavour now safely is into space. The next big activity will be the orbital maneuvering system engine burn to more circularize Endeavour's orbit. Currently, the vehicle's in a 136 by 36 statute mile orbit, very highly elliptical. And that will be refined here in the next 30 minutes to more circularize the orbit on its way to the International Space Station. That link up with the ISS scheduled for early Wednesday morning, about 6:15 in the morning is the current targeted docking time of Endeavour to the ISS. Again, a fairly routine ascent. All of the calls, abort calls to the flight director all the way uphill were fairly routine. There were no anomalies discussed whatsoever on the way uphill during today's launch. You're looking at Richard Jones in the middle there. He is the ascent flight director for STS-134. Barry Wilmore in the near view, serving as the spacecraft communicator. Lee Archambault just sitting down there served as the interface for weather reconnaissance with astronaut Rick Sturckow, who was flying shuttle training aircraft down at the Kennedy Space Center evaluating weather. And then at the top of the picture is Tony Sacacci. He served as the weather flight director, and he also will be back 14 days from now, serving as the entry flight director for Endeavour's final return home at the end of this mission. As Endeavour flies.
Endeavour Houston for Deltas to page 3-4 when you're ready.
We are ready to copy.
I'll give you your OMS 2 preliminary time for your TIG is 37:00. Actually, I have no Deltas to 3-4. Tel-only control, of course, will, I repeat, will be required.
tail-only control is required, 37.0002.
That's a good read back, Endeavour.
And Flight Director Richard Jones getting a go from flight controllers for a shutdown of the auxiliary power units.
Endeavour for box, you are go for APU hide shutdown.
Copy, go for APU hide shutdown.
Those three hydraulic systems performed perfectly going uphill. Also, the control of the heaters for the APUs, obviously the issue that delayed the launch a couple of weeks. The APU heaters working just fine aboard the vehicle. As is the flash evaporator system, which provides cooling to all of the avionics and electronics equipment aboard Endeavour during ascent and until the payload bay doors are opened. The door opening is scheduled to occur about an hour and a half or so into the flight. Once the payload bay doors are opened, the flash evaporator system is bypassed, which allows the radiators to be activated, and the cooling of all of the systems during on-orbit operations is conducted through the radiators that line the payload bay doors. And Mechanical Systems Officer reports a good shutdown of the auxiliary power units. Those are not required for the on-orbit phase of the mission. They provide hydraulic power to the main engines and also the aero surfaces. They will be required, obviously, for entry. One of those will be used the day before landing for a checkout of the flight control surfaces and the aero surfaces as well. All of those will be checked out before entry, but the APUs now have done their job putting Endeavour into orbit, assisting with that. Next up will be a OMS 2 burn.
2 minutes to spreading.
Copy, 2 minutes to spreading.
The spreading call is a nominal call. That's basically what we do when we're going over Europe, so the S-band communication system doesn't interfere with telecommunications satellites. Also reporting that orbital maneuvering system 2 burn to more circularize Endeavour's orbit upcoming at about 37 minutes mission elapsed time. That's about 20 minutes from now. Crew now in the process of beginning to transition the onboard software to the post-ascent stage. Crew is still in its ascent checklist. It'll transition to the post-insertion checklist about 35 minutes or so mission elapsed time. Everything going very smoothly with Endeavour's ascent post-insertion activities on board. We'll head back down to Florida now for the traditional launch replays.
Endeavour, we like your TIG. You are go to load.
Copy, go to load.
Endeavour Houston for box. When you get to MPS
Houston, comm check on the handheld mic.
Endeavour, Houston, we have you loud and clear.
Loud and clear, too, and just standing by on the MPS power down. Are you ready for Block 3 and Block 2 in post-insertion? We can start those early.
You are go for both, Endeavour.
Thanks, and work. Hey, Houston, Endeavour, you ready for MPS power down?
That's affirmative, ready for that, and when you get there, box, we have no deltas to your ET umbilical door closure.
Copy that.
Endeavour, when convenient, you've got somebody near R11 lower. I need a talk back check, please.
Yeah, which one, Houston?
Yeah, we've lost insight to the talkback for Supply Water Tank Charlie Inlet. If you could let us know what that says.
Supply Water Tank Charlie Inlet is closed, Houston.
Copy. The talkback's closed. Thank you. Okay, Endeavour, for the Supply Water Tank Charlie Inlet, we'd like you to hold that switch to open until the talkback goes open and confirm it with us that the talkback does go open.
Okay, in work, Houston. Hey, Houston, we opened the Tank Charlie Inlet and the talkback says open.
Good words, thanks.